everyone, and welcome to the Lesbian Talk Show. I'm Rae Magden, and this is For Love and Money, the podcast about marketing the most sapphic fiction you can. Today, we have a very special guest that I'm excited to talk to, Kay-Ann Meinel. Welcome, Kay-Ann.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you today about several topics, but let's start with you. So, you are an author in your own right, as well as a publisher. How do you go about promoting your own works? If you have a new release, what's the first thing on your to-do list?
I usually start with my blog because I've got nearly 20,000 followers there that I've built up over the years.
So 20,000 followers, that's a whole lot.
Yeah, that's because I went into the straight genre, not just the lesfic, and my books cross over fairly well. Occasionally, you'll get some homophobe in there that'll go, "This would be a great book if it didn't have lesbians in it." Well, read what I write.
Don't listen to the haters.
Yes, those kind of reviews and everything, they do hurt a little to everybody. Anybody who says that it doesn't must have a pretty hard shell. But then another thing I'll do is I'll post it all over social media, Google Plus and Twitter and Facebook. Facebook is my primary one. And then I've also set up different groups and different promoters who help me because I'm in over 1,000 groups on Facebook alone.
Wow, so you've really put a lot of your eggs in the Facebook basket. Why do you like Facebook as your social media of choice?
I don't know. I think because I resisted it for a lot of years. And then once I started getting the hang of it and understanding it better, it just made sense. And I can do it mindlessly and do something else while, certain things are going by. Like, Facebook has evolved over the years to where you can't post in 40 groups anymore without getting put in Facebook jail. I'm in Facebook jail enough that, I know better, but every now and then somebody dings me and that's all it takes, then you can't post for a week to 10 days.
I didn't even know Facebook had Facebook jail.
Oh yes, I'm the queen.
Only 3 minutes into the podcast and learning so much already. Okay, so aside from social media, how do you go about getting the word out about your books? Any other strategies when you have a new release?
Well, there are groups on Facebook that'll actually help you. They have wonderful ideas and tidbits, like BookBub, and there's lots of other websites such as BookBub, or you can really spend a lot of money. Actually, I'm all about doing it for free, which is another reason why I did it on Facebook, and which is another reason why Facebook is always dinging me because they would rather have me pay.
I haven't had a lot of success with paid Facebook ads either. They didn't really reach the intended audience that I wanted.
I think it is because you've got 30 and 40 somethings now, and there's very intelligent guys behind it, but it is guys. There isn't as many women, and I'm sure that fraternity mentality has something to do with it. And if they are homophobic, like attracts likes.
So let's talk about shadow publishing. Why did you decide to start your own publishing house, and how do you run it to help support your authors with their new releases?
Well, about 6 years ago, I was approached by an author. I'd been approached by many authors to help them because they saw me as successful as an independent publishing author. And there were less independents then. You either went with the major lesfic publishing companies or you didn't publish. And they kept asking, well, how did you do it? How did you do it? And rather than just give away free advice, which was getting a little old, one of them especially pleaded, do it for me and I will pay you. And well, not everybody can afford to pay up front. So I worked out what I believed was a reasonable trade, as it were. In exchange for my knowledge and expertise, they would pay me a percentage of their income for 5 years. Now, a normal publishing contract is 7 years, from what I had researched at the time. There are varying degrees of those publishing contracts out there, and each publisher is different. In exchange for that, I got my percentage, and I did what I was doing, which worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone. I would format their books. I could do their covers unless they already had it done. But when I first started, the books were not edited unless it came to me edited. I don't know how to edit. That is not my expertise. Since I started, I have hired various editors over the years who now work for Shadow Publishing, and they too get a percentage of the author's sales. I've actually cut back on the publishing side of things for lack of time. I make more money at my own work. Plus, not a lot of authors are as prolific as I am. I've got 100 works out now of my own, and equally that many in various stages of completion.
100 works. Wow. That's incredibly impressive. Do you think that your productivity is one of the reasons that you've been able to build such a large audience?
I do, because I don't write in just one genre. I don't just, oh, this is a romance or this is drama. I do murder mystery. I tried science fiction a year ago, and that was very, very lucrative. It makes you want to write in that genre again, and I do have other stories, but it's got to hit me, and I got to be in the mood. This year, I released 2 historical fictions as well as 2 dramatic fictions, which were continuation all of the same story. And that same story was only supposed to be a standalone book, and now there's 5 of them, and they're clamoring for more. But the bad thing with a series is each successive book sells a little less. And that's an awful lot of work to put in when you know you're going to sell less.
You're listening to The Lesbian Talk Show. TheLesbianTalkShow.com, your hub of podcast information.
Let's talk about the Lesfic Bard Awards and the Gay Scribe Awards. These are new awards that you started this year, correct?
I started the Lesfic Bard Awards a year ago, so it's got 1 year under its belt. And we just started the Gay Scribe Awards so that we have an alternative, because I don't like the idea of mixing it. What happens a lot of times is lesbians become intimidated, or gay fiction writers become intimidated by all the others seeing what they perceive as somebody very successful at this, and they think they can't compete. This way, the way we have it set up, and by separating it, not only do they only compete with their own sex, but their own genres. Plus, the way we have each of them set up with blind judging, that's unique in the industry. No one knows who the author is, who the publisher is, or who the judge is. I coordinate all of that. I'm the only one who knows who all 3 are. And a lot of times I'll have to look it up if I was ever asked. So I won't remember anyways, other than by how I have it set up so that we can keep track.
Okay, have you ever had a situation where one of the judges recognized the author or the book and had to ask for a different one?
No, not at this time. I think we are too young for that. They do, one of the questions they are asked in their questionnaire before they become a judge is, if you recognize the book or the author, do you think you can judge this impartially? And I've never had anybody say no.
Okay. It's the blind process sounds like a very fair process to me. If an author were to be lucky enough to receive an award from the Lesbian Bard Awards or the Gay Scribe Awards, how would you guys help them advertise their book with this new award?
Well, with the Lesfic Bard Awards, we were able to set up a bunch of coordinating blogs and websites and everything that are going to help us. What we can do is we can coordinate with these blogs and websites, not only to get the author's name and win out there, which will promote both us as well as the author and their book, but we are looking at buying advertising. As we grow, that'll become easier to do. Right now, I'm doing this because there isn't anything out there like that.
Well, I think it's wonderful that there are more awards for queer fiction popping up. I think a lot of times our community is overlooked for getting recognized for their very valuable and high quality work. And the more opportunities there are to recognize those authors, the better for our whole community. So, as an author, thank you for setting up an award system like this and for giving authors a chance to be recognized.
Well, you're welcome. I hope the generosity behind this isn't questioned because, I mean, I understand people being suspicious. Well, you're taking money. Well, the awards are a crystal award. And if you go to our website, you will see the mock up that I had made up. That cost me several $100s. Just the mock up. Each award costs the same. Then on top of it, we send out the seals and the acknowledgement, and then we're going to be marketing them. That's a lot of time and effort out of our pockets, and we're not making any money at this time. Eventually, I hope it'll be the premier award site that everybody goes, did you see it on the Lesfic Bard Awards, or did you see it on the Gay Scribe Awards? And enter accordingly because they know they're going to get fair and impartial judging, and they're going to get the notoriety they need to get, because Lesfic especially is a very, very small segment of the market. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a lesbian group on, say, Facebook or on Google Plus, and people go, I didn't even know there was lesbian fiction. I'm sure the same thing happens in gay fiction, but I have noticed there is more gay fiction out there, and they seem to be making money at it more. I want to change that so that the lesfic community makes more money at their work so that there is more quality work out there.
Absolutely. I know for a fact that a lot of my readers were unaware of even the major lesbian publishing houses before finding my free online stuff in my blog. And then I've had the pleasure and the honor of introducing them to like a whole new world. I'm like, if you go to these publishers and look at these authors, you're going to find everything you ever wanted that you didn't even know you wanted. So I think there is an audience for this. I think just not all of them know that this world even exists. And I'm hoping to change that with my podcast a little bit. And it looks like you're trying to make a good go of it as well with the Lesfic Bard Awards. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, when I started it, I wanted to stay anonymous, and that was my mistake, because lesbians by nature seem to be suspicious. And I don't blame them, actually. They do due diligence. They check out what they need to find. And I immediately outed myself because the people that were posting for me were taking a hit, where people were, well, what's this about? You're asking for money and you want to remain anonymous. Well, I wanted to stay anonymous because of various factions in the lesfic field, but the overwhelming response, which was a big relief, especially after the work I'd put into it, because I didn't do this on a whim. I researched it for a very long time, and it took me 6 months just to get the website ready to go, and I set it up in the course of 2 days.
That's a lot of work on your part.
Well, it is, and it's continuing, and we're still evolving. Like we accidentally left off 1 or 2 categories, which we've added since then. And what amazes me is how many people haven't heard of it yet. And I take care of that in some of the groups that I post in, but I also have on Facebook, I have the Lesfic Reading Group, which has a couple thousand readers and writers in there where I do interviews. And one of the questions I always ask them, are you going to enter the Lesfic Bard Awards? And some of them said, I never heard of it.
Well, I hope that after this podcast, more people will hear of it and decide to enter their books, because like I said, I think the more opportunities for recognition our community gets, the better for all of us.
Well, they are running out of time for this year. What we're doing, too, is we're not doing it in sections of the year. So if the book was published in 2018, you have until December 31st at midnight Central Standard Time to enter your book.
Okay. I'm not sure if this podcast will air before then, but you are doing this award system next year, yes?
Yes, right now we are already asking our judges if they wish to continue for next year. So far, we've only had one judge decline because she had family obligations, but the set of judges that we ended up with this year were fabulous. So I'm hoping they will all continue. And then we're, of course, taking applications for new judges for the Lesfic Bard Awards, and now, of course, setting up for the Gay Scribe Awards.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast with me and talking about all these great topics. I really appreciate your insight.
Well, thank you for having me.
This was a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to For Love and Money with the Lesbian Talk Show. If you want more content, please check out our Patreon, where you'll get to hear exclusive clips nobody else has heard yet. And check out the Lesbian Talk Show Facebook group and interact with other listeners. Thank you again to K.Ann Meinel for agreeing to be our guest and for discussing Facebook advertising, shadow publishing, the Lesfic Bard Awards, and lots of other topics. Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.